Alright, this is SSL Family Dad with Simple Suburban Living, and today I just wanted to take you through kind of some of the fall preparations that we like to do for our fruit trees. We've got quite a few different fruit trees, and every year we're trying to add more, and some of them we actually planted from seed, like this one here, and this one we actually planted in about January. We started it indoors from a seed that we got just from a regular grocery store apple. I think they were Macintosh apples or Red Delicious, I can't remember. So this will be kind of a mystery when it grows older. We'll, depending on, we're not sure whether it's going to produce apples or not. We're not sure whether the apples that we had came from some type of a hybrid or exactly what's going to happen with it. So we planted a few of these just like this, and we'll just see what happens in a few years, whether they give us some apples or not. But especially the smaller trees like this, I want to make sure that we get a good amount of mulch around the bottom of them. I also want to keep the grass from growing around the base of these trees, which makes it easier for mowing the grass. Now we're heading into September, or we're in September here now, so it won't be too much more grass mowing up here in Michigan, but this will get them ready for next year so that I don't have to run out and do this right away in the spring. This will be ready to go for the spring. So basically what we're going to be doing is just kind of preparing the area around here. We're going to be using some cardboard boxes as kind of a landscape cloth underneath, and then we're going to be putting some mulch down, and I'll talk a little bit about the mulch once we get started. So we'll bring you in close and just show you what we're doing here. Okay, so instead of using some type of landscape fabric or other things you can purchase to kind of keep the grass and weeds away from the bottom of these, and instead of just putting mulch around them, I like to put a level or a layer of this just cardboard, and this is just packing, you know, some box that we got. You don't want to use anything glossy just because you don't know what the ink is for that kind of stuff. And of course you want to remove any tape and stuff like that along the edges of the box so you don't have any plastic around it. But essentially all you're going to do is just cut a square out of the side of the box and turn that into a circle. You can leave it square if you want to. You're going to cover outside the edges of it with mulch anyway, but just cut a notch in it, and I cut a little hole in the middle just so that can fit right around the tree. Now this is a pretty small tree, so this is a pretty small piece of cardboard. For some of our bigger trees, I like to go out maybe a couple feet away from the bottom of the tree, and this will help keep the grass down. This is permeable, so the water will still soak right through this and get to the roots just fine, but it kills all the grass and the roots and everything that's underneath it, and it won't let that stuff come up. And it works for about a year, a full year, calendar year, until you have to redo it again, and by that time your compost and mulch is kind of broken down, and you can just spread that out and just layer it right on top, another piece of cardboard, and put more compost on. So it helps keep grass and weeds away from the base of your tree. This way you're actually saving this from having to be recycled or processed somewhere, and you're saving yourself some money from buying landscape cloth, so it works out. Okay, so one of the things that I like to do just kind of before I put the cardboard down is just kind of spread out any compost or mulch that was left from last year. I always, you know, as my compost becomes available, just put a little bit around here throughout the year as well. So I've got some of that in here. Looks like I have some chicken manure and some wood chips and stuff around here as well. So just kind of spread that out a little bit. As it rains, the water is going to take all the nutrients from this down into the soil for the roots of this tree anyway, so that's going to work great. So spread that out a little bit. You also want to make sure that you don't pile your mulch or compost too high up on the trunk of the tree. What can happen is you'll retain too much moisture right around the base of the tree, and it'll actually start to rot the bark away. And that's a good way to kill the tree, because all of the nutrients actually go up through the outside few layers of this tree. The inside center of it is, it's pretty much dead. Not in a tree this small, but as trees get larger. So you want to make sure you keep that compost just a little bit away from it. I'll show you how we do that. So, but basically, we're just gonna throw in that piece of cardboard, and then I've got some real rough mulch here, and you see it's got big sticks and stuff in it. And I get this from our local municipal park, the city park, and all this is just basically all the tree clippings that they've taken down throughout the year, and they stack it up at the park. So it's available for everybody to just go up and take. So if you... Daddy! You need help? Alright, put it over here. Put it right there. So if you check with your city parks and maybe call your city hall or whatever. They probably have a place where they dump this type of stuff that you can pick up for free.
Dada, where does this go?
Put it down there.
Right here?
Yep. Okay, so this is a little bit older tree, and you can see last year we had a real hard winter, and the rabbits and other little critters just chewed up everything they could reach. And this one got a lot of bark chewed off of it, and it actually damaged it right down to the core of the tree. And so with this one, and with some of my other ones as well, I'm actually going to put a little protection around the trunk here to hopefully keep those critters from chewing away that bark. And this is another thing, you can purchase tree wrap if you want to, but what works just as well, I've found, put this in place here, is one of these paper towel rolls, depending on how tall you want it to go up. The smaller trees I'll probably try to protect with maybe a toilet paper roll, but if you just slice it down here, it'll stay on there pretty well. And it's nice because this will biodegrade by next year. It doesn't hold tight to the trunk of the tree, so it doesn't hold the moisture against it like I talked about earlier. And this way you can also put the compost up to it, and again, it keeps the compost right off the trunk of the tree there. So this works really well. So another thing, you know, why go out and buy things you don't have to buy? This works just as well, and you know, it's just another thing that would be thrown away or recycled, and that's a whole nother story. You know, recycling paper, between, you know, the fuel it takes to come and pick it up or drop it off to the recycling place, and you know, all the processing and chemicals and heat and energy that has to be used to clean and sort and reprocess a piece of paper back into something that can be used it's enormous. And this is a renewable resource. I mean, trees can be grown, and the more trees we grow, the better off we are. So whether they're being used for wood for a fire, or whether the trees are being used for, you know, paper or cardboard products, it's you know, it's a renewable resource. So the more we can reuse these types of things is better. It's a step better than recycling, but never throw it away. So go ahead and get this one all mulched up. All right, that's pretty much it for these ones. And I thought it's worth mentioning. See the difference. This one, I mentioned this apple tree we planted from seed this winter, actually in January, so it's about 9 months that it's been growing. But this one was actually in the aquaponics system for quite some time, and then I moved it out here. If you watch some of my early videos, you'll see this one in the aquaponics system. So I'll try to put a link at the end of the video over to one of those. But this thing grew very well. It's probably about I'd say it's about 3-4 feet tall. So okay, so this is a Honeycrisp apple tree. This is a little bit larger tree. We bought this one earlier this spring, and I did the same thing with this, just a larger piece of cardboard underneath it. In fact, a couple pieces of cardboard. And again, this is that real rough mulch that we got, or compost that we got from the city park. And this is kind of what it ends up looking like after the year. But you can notice I haven't pulled any weeds out of here. No grass, no weeds grow up around the tree at all. And yeah, some of it gets in the grass on the edges here, and I mow right over the top of the edges of this anyway. But it really works good. Excuse me. And as this stuff breaks down, you know, if you ever look at the Garden of Eden project, where it's kind of the system of growing basically with just wood chips as compost. You let it break down over a year, you just keep layering it on there, and it makes the best nutrients for trees and plants. So every year, keep layering this on here. I'm just going to add a little bit more to the top right now for the winter, and this will break down with the snow and rain in the spring, and provide a lot of nutrients for the tree once it starts growing again in the springtime. So this has worked really well. Just cardboard, no landscape fabric or anything like that. Okay, and here's that Honeycrisp tree all dressed up with some fresh mulch and a paper towel roll there to protect it from the rabbits, hopefully. And you can make this taller too. It depends on how much snowfall you get. I mean, the snow will come up, 6 inches at times, and then the rabbits can climb across the top of the snow and still chew at the trunk. So I might even, for some of these, add a second paper towel roll and just run a piece of tape across that, or just friction fit them together so that it goes up a little taller, to keep the rabbits and other critters from chewing on the bark in the wintertime. But another thing here too that I normally do, or that I'm going to start doing this year especially too, is marking the branches that I'm going to prune. The best time to prune these, from what I've heard, is in the fall time and the springtime. So it's a good idea to wait till all the leaves fall off the tree, and then all the basically the energy and the sap from the tree is down in the roots, preparing for winter. And you can go and cut these branches off. This one here is dead and hasn't grown all year, so I'm going to mark it with and I already put a black mark on it right where I want that one cut. And I'll do that with the rest of these that have been dead here. I've got a couple here, and this one here looks like can be cut back. And so I'll mark any of the ones I want to prune, and then that way in the fall time, a little bit later on in the fall when all the leaves fall off here, I can cut those. Or if I forget, I can cut them in the spring and they'll be marked as well. So just another little tip there. But all these look pretty good. All these were planted from seed this year, this summer, this one here. So I'm not sure if these ones are going to make it. This one was in the aquaponics system also. Little apple trees, various kinds. I've got some Granny Smith and some Red Delicious and some Macintosh in here. So, but that's pretty much it. So I just thought I'd bring you along on this, and got a few more to do in the front yard, but I won't bring you along for that. It's pretty much the same process here. So hopefully this was informational for you. If you have some fruit trees, or if you don't, plant some, because it's never too late to start planting them, even if it takes a few years, obviously. But if you buy them like this big, that one costs about $75, and it's 5 feet tall, 6 feet tall. But planting them this way is free, obviously, so you can plant a bunch of them. But if you have any questions, throw them down below. Comments, suggestions, anything I missed, or any best practices that you have for your compost or mulching, and for any of your trees at home, throw them down in the comments. Share them with me and everyone else. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.